Okay, let's start with tip number 1. And tip number 1 applies to literally every job that you would ever do on earth. Yeah, it's preparation. You have to prepare. Preparation is the key. I'm sure you've heard that before. You have to prepare physically and then also educationally. Physically, you need to know how many children are in your group. How many do you expect to come out? Therefore, how many seats do you need? Is one desk going to be big enough, or are you going to go and use the library? Make sure you know all this before you start. You need to know how many whiteboards, how many pens, pencils, rubbers, markers, iPads, laptops, and if you're going to use iPads or laptops, does the internet connection work? I've been there and it hasn't worked at all. Plan B was needed. So, prepare physically for where you're going to be and what resources and equipment you're going to need. Educationally, well, you have to make sure you know their levels. Is the level of your lesson too high or too low? Well, prepare. Speak with the teacher beforehand and know what you're going to do. Know their levels. Are they capable of doing your lesson, or is it too hard? What else do you need to know? Well, make sure you have your lesson structured. Make sure you have your learning objectives on a bit of paper right beside you. It's quite all right to have key questions and your structure down so you can refer back to it, because sometimes you simply forget. Sometimes the lesson might drift off on another direction and your notes will help you get back on track. There you go. Tip number 1, prepare. Well, you knew that already, didn't you? Yeah, preparation is the key. Tip number 2 is take control and establish rules. Now, children love to get out of class. They will literally walk around the entire school building for 2 or 3 hours delivering one simple message to the classroom next door. When they get out of class and come to your small group, they'll be overexcited. Their behaviour levels could drop. Now, that means they might say things and do things that they wouldn't normally do in class because you are not their teacher. They'll react differently to you. Therefore, you need to use your tone of voice, your body language and your confidence to let them know that you are in charge of this group. Set rules early. Maybe in that first meeting or the second, come up with a group charter, a contract, rules that you will follow. We will listen to each other. We will not interrupt others. We will always try our best. Those sorts of rules so that you can refer to that if someone steps out of line. Be confident. If you're not that confident, bluff it for the first 2 lessons, okay? That will naturally come to you the more you work with your small group. There you go. Tip number 2, take control and establish your rules. Tip number 3 is jobs. Children love to do jobs in primary schools. They are delighted when the teacher selects them to give out the books, give out the sheets, collect the iPads, or take a message to the next class. They love it. It gives them a sense of importance. It makes them feel special within the class. The same applies for your small group. When the children come out, simply number them and then give them a job. Okay, number 1, you're going to go and get the iPads. Number 2, you're getting our books. Number 3, you're getting our sheets. Whatever it is, give them a job. If you've no more jobs left, well, simply the last 2, you're my bodyguards. You're going to walk me to the front door at the end of the lesson. There you go, things like that. That will help you control your small group and improve the behaviour from them. Okay, that's tip number 3. Tip number 4 is give simple, clear instructions. Now, I've been teaching for 20 years and I've got frustrated and cracked up many times. When I look back after all my years' experience, I realised that I was probably at fault for a lot of that. Simply repeating the same instruction over and over again to a child who is struggling with it won't do anyone any favours. Break it down into simple, manageable chunks, especially if they really are struggling to understand what you're telling them. Perhaps try and vary your question or change the language of your instruction. That will help them much more than simply repeating your original requests. There you go. Give clear, simple instructions, even though you might think it's really straightforward. Tip 5, give praise. You need to give positive praise when it's earned. In your small group, this could be the only time that the pupil is confident enough to share answers. Maybe in class they're too embarrassed or too shy or don't want to do it for the fear of getting it wrong. In your small group, they might be comfortable. Therefore, when they get something right, praise them. It does the world of good. Now, be careful. Don't overdo it. Children know whenever their praise isn't really deserved, and that can be a negative effect. So, get the balance right, praise them when they deserve it. There you go. Tip number 5, give positive praise. Tip number 6, build a relationship. Week after week, your small group will come out to you. They'll be excited. Take that opportunity to build a relationship with them. In a class, sometimes it's hard to build a relationship quickly, especially when you have 30 pupils sitting in front of you. In a small group, it's much easier. This will help with your behaviour management, and it will also help with learning that want to impress you. Build a relationship. Ask them what their hobbies are, what songs they like, what do they like to do. If they go to dancing, wow, that's amazing. How did you go this weekend? What happened? When's your next competition? If they're into football, what's your favourite football team? Oh, I don't like them. Check up on the results. Even if you're not that interested, make an effort week after week to talk about something that they do outside of school. Build a relationship. That's tip number 6. Tip number 7, know the level and ability of your pupils. Now, as a teacher, we rely on lots of information. We have scores and levels ever since they came into P1, and we have tracked their progress. You might not be privy to this information, but it's really important to aim and structure your lesson at the right level. Speak with the teacher beforehand, as in the week before, 2 weeks before. See what the pupils are struggling with. See if what you're going to do is going to be too hard or too easy. That will be really, really important. If it's too hard, the pupils will give up. They might resent coming out to you. If it's too easy, they might start to mess about and you'll lose control of your group. Got it? Tip number 7, make sure you know the level and ability of the pupils. Tip number 8 is keep the lesson interesting. Yes, your small group will love to come out to you week after week, so it's up to you to make it fun and a great learning experience. You're going to have to mix written work with online activities, with fun practical games and a bit of discussion. See what works best. Do they like working with online stuff or do they like practical work? Tweak this week after week and make it a real fun learning experience. Classroom Monkey would be a great resource for this. You could perhaps open your lesson with one of our videos. Then you could go off and do practical work, have a discussion, and maybe at the end see how much they've understood by taking one of our quizzes. That will allow you to track their progress and see if they really have learnt something today. There you go, it's up to you. Keep it fun and keep it interesting. Tip number 9, keep a record. Yes, you know that teachers love information. They love to see the scores that children got in September, and then we love to compare them to the scores they got in May or June, and we track that progress all the way through their school career. Keep a record, not only of the quizzes, but also of the practical games that you played, the online activities that they really enjoyed, things that they really liked, discussions you had, or anything that was a positive learning experience. Keep a record. Also write down those little things that didn't work too well. Perhaps there was maybe activities that really didn't enhance their learning at all. Keep a record of that and what you would change for the next time that you approached the same subject. There you go, tip number 9, keep a record. Finally, you've made it to tip number 10, and tip number 10 is play to your strengths. What do I mean by that? It is amazing that you're going in to help children in a small group situation. They will look up to you and they will see the characteristics you have. It's interesting that the website TES conducted a survey amongst primary school pupils. They asked them for the 25 qualities that every teacher should have. Here are the top 10. Funny, helpful, good listener, friendly and fair, approachable, kind, passionate, inspiring and knowledgeable. That's the top 10 list, and I'm sure that you have 8 or 9 of those characteristics already without being trained as a teacher. Play to your strengths. You have amazing qualities. The children will see that and they will learn from you. Good luck. I'll see you soon.